That's
Really interesting and great question. I think a lot of mental health experts, particularly those who work with children, are really concerned and interested in exploring this further. And I think the COVID-19 pandemic has really put a different spin on all of this. If you look at, I as a child and adolescent
mm,
psychiatrist, I get a lot of my information from my certify one of the institutions that kind of certifies um, our work, and that is the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatrists. And that organization actually put out in
mhm,
February 2020, just before everything shut down, they put out a set of recommendations regarding screen time and regarding use of technology. And I think it's really interesting to look at that list of recommendations. What they had said is for kids aged 2 to 5, to try and limit non-educational screen time to about 1 hour per weekday, and then 3 hours on the weekend days.
mm,
And then for kids 6 and older, they actually didn't give a recommendation on the number of hours, which I think is really interesting because, this
mm,
was before the pandemic happened, and, and education switched entirely to being remote as well. And so, even
right,
before we had that switch, we had people recognizing that it can be really challenging to determine what is the right amount of screen time for kids, what is healthy and what is not. And I think the other piece of this is that as adults, kids are following our lead. Kids are mirroring our behavior. And it's one thing to say,
right,
okay,
right,
as a child, I only want you to have this amount of screen time. I only want you to have this amount of technology time. And then they look at the adults, and the adults are, on their phone 24/7. You have an adult that loses their phone and their world collapses. And so, it's not a problem that has an easy solution. But I think what I really like about the approach that you guys take at Virgil's is that using the tool itself, using the technology itself as a way of addressing concerns about that technology is a really unique way of approaching the problem, because then you get buy-in from the very beginning of this is the tool that we're going
mm,
to use, and this is the tool that in some ways can be problematic for kids. Um, so you get that engagement from the very beginning, and once you have buy-in from a child, once they are interested in the process, the possibilities become
yeah.
much more broad.